I've talked in several videos in the past about the fact that it is mathematically true 99% of the time that it's more economical to fix your broken car than buy a new one. And I'm strictly talking about a mathematical perspective. And that means that the numbers work in such a way that fixing your old car will always be cheaper than buying a new car. However, there are certain situations where mathematically it does not make sense. And today I want to walk through how you should think about those situations where I present you with a huge estimate to fix your car, and I will legitimately tell you this math doesn't work, and as long as you're not sentimentally attached to this vehicle, it's time to let it go. My name is Arun Kumar. I am the CEO of Driven Auto Care. We see thousands of vehicles a year come through our repair shops to get fixed all around the San Francisco Bay Area, and I regularly get asked whether it is worth it to fix a car once we present someone with an estimate. And so that's the question we're answering today. Let's get to it. Before we get started, pardon the interruption, but if you enjoy these types of videos talking about what it's like interacting with repair shops, buyer's advice for new and used cars, reliable, unreliable, fix it, don't fix it, modernize it, all of those kind of questions around car ownership, and you want to hear from a repair shop CEO who sees thousands of vehicles a year on how to do that and accomplish your best car ownership experience, make sure you subscribe. If you have any questions or feedback, leave a comment, and if you like the video, leave a like because it helps us show up higher in the YouTube algorithm and keep growing this channel to help more people. Now let's get to the video. Okay, when shouldn't you fix your car? Now, honestly, I really wish I didn't have to make this video because it would mean that every time somebody asks me whether it's worth it to fix their car, I wouldn't actually have to do math in my head. But at the end of the day, there are definitely situations where mathematically it does not make sense to fix the car. And today I want to really outline what that math looks like so that you can do it for yourself. There are a few criteria that you have to meet when you are looking at your current car and you're looking at the estimate for what it takes to fix that car that you need to either check the box on or cross it off as you decide whether or not to fix your car. The first criteria is, do you have any sentimental attachment to it? Because if you do, then the math may not really matter so much. If this is the car that you were taken home from the hospital in, or this is the car that you took your first kid home from the hospital in, this car has so many family building memories for you and you won't get rid of it until you die. If it's that kind of thing for you, then it doesn't really matter what the math says, because we can help advise you on what repairs really make sense to do, what's going to be the economical approach for a car that maybe isn't driven as much anymore, maybe doesn't need to do long haul trips across the country or anything like that. And we can kind of work with you to tailor the repairs and maintenance to the car to your ownership experience so that it doesn't break the bank unnecessarily for something that you just have sentimental attachment to. Maybe even if you replace the car in its daily use, you won't get rid of it and you do still want to fix it occasionally. That's great. We can help you do that. In that case, it doesn't really matter what the math says because we can work those numbers around your ownership experience to ensure that even if the math doesn't really work out in your favor and you want this thing perfect, we can do that. Or if you want it to rot away in the side yard and you just look at it as that memory bank that you have from your past, that works as well, and we don't have to fix it at all. In any case, you're gonna keep it, and I am so grateful to those people because you're building stories in cars, and I absolutely love that for you. Okay, criteria number 2. The math. This is where it really comes down to it. I want to have you look at your current car. Let's say it is a 2005 Accord with 240,000 miles on it. That's a pretty high mileage car, and you've probably gotten a lot of use out of it, but doesn't have that much sentimental attachment to you. You've basically just been driving it relatively worry-free for the last several years, and all of a sudden the check engine light came on, or you had an issue where the car developed, instead of having 5 gears in the transmission, it all of a sudden had 5 neutrals, and now you can't go anywhere with it, and you towed it to the shop. There's all different sorts of things that may have happened that caused your 240,000 mile 2005 Accord to now be in a repair shop. And you may, at this point, decide it's not worth fixing. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Here's where the math makes sense to do exactly that. If you can buy a car that is of a like kind to your 2005 Accord, maybe you can buy another 2005 Accord. Maybe it's an 06, an 07, they're all basically the same engine, same interior, and you can just buy a replacement car. And here's the key, with half the miles. Let's say you can buy a 120,000 mile 2006 Honda Accord for $8,000. Let's say that's the case. And that's probably about right in today's day and age. Maybe less, maybe $6,000. So let's call it in the middle, $7,000. And your Honda Accord has had a check engine light for the last year or so that you finally want to get addressed. And all of a sudden, your transmission failed on. Quote, to replace your transmission, $3,500, $4,000. And your check engine light happens to be on for a catalytic converter, which is also going to run you $3,500 to $4,000 here in the great state of California, where you have to have a Air Resources Board certified catalytic converter replacement that is highly more expensive than the 49 state compliant catalytic converters that you can buy everywhere else. So for the rest of you, yeah, we look bad. So in that case, after taxes, you'd be looking at a total repair bill, not counting any sort of ancillary repairs and maintenance that your 240,000 mile car might need, but probably does, of $7,000 plus tax, plus anything else that it needs. But you might be able to buy a complete replacement Honda Accord with 120,000 miles for the same price. And if you can, go to that Honda Accord, do a pre-purchase inspection, and verify that its condition is good. It's been well cared for, and maybe it was the little old lady church on Sundays car that then got bought by somebody who used it as a commuter for a few years, and now they need to upgrade to a bigger car, but you don't. This is a pretty good option for you. And at that point, I would absolutely recommend that you basically trade for that like kind car with half the miles, because you can do it for the same money as your repair bill and you have no sentimental attachment to this car. Donate it, sell it to me for cheap, and I will fix it up and turn it into a loaner car that you can borrow when you bring in your 120,000 mile Accord for service. That's an option. That is perfectly okay and mathematically makes sense. Now, criteria number 3. This is the alternative to the math that I just described, because frankly, that is the only time that on a purely mathematical basis, it makes actual financial sense to get a different car, because in most cases, you know your car better than that new car that you're buying. But if you can get one with half the miles of your current car and you can vet it ahead of time, then it may have been really well owned, just like yours is, and you can get that car and restart the clock, and you are resetting a whole lot of wear and tear by going back in time on the odometer and getting that car with half the miles. Great. But there is another use case where mathematically it can make sense. If you bought that Accord, that 2005, 240,000 mile Accord, if you bought that when you were making $50,000 a year and you're now making $130,000 a year, you can probably afford to get a nicer car. And I've talked about this a lot in other videos where we talk about modernizing your old car or the trade-offs of getting into a newer and nicer and more expensive car where, yeah, you will spend more. Mathematically, it does not make sense to do this, but if you can justify it from an income perspective, if you make way more money than you did before and the new car payment and the purchase price of that car is something that you can easily afford, by all means, go get a newer car that you can enjoy. It's safer, it has more technology, it's probably going to have better air-conditioned seats and infotainment and CarPlay and all these things that are going to make your life easier. At the end of the day, that experience of getting into that newer car will feel like a reward, even if you're not that into cars. You weren't that sentimentally attached to your old car, you can get rid of it. You probably won't be that sentimentally attached to your new car, but you can reap the benefits of your newfound income and go out and get something nicer, more luxurious, where the doors close a little heavier. It's a little quieter inside, a little more comfortable, it's better climate control, better technology, better safety features. You can feel like you've grown up a little. And that criteria makes mathematical sense in my mind, because I am a very aspirational person. I believe that as your income increases, you should go out and reward yourself with a better car. And so I'll encourage people to do that as well, because frankly, there are a lot lot of good options, whether you're buying new or used and upgrading from that '05 to a 2015, or whether you're going to a whole brand new car. They're great. And I think that there's reason and factors into every single car that you could buy out there to enjoy for whatever your priorities are. And I can help you pick whatever that car is. And if you do get a used car, make sure you get a pre-purchase inspection so you don't inherit somebody else's car that they gave up on because they felt the repair bill was too big. So what do you think? Is that fair mathematical comparisons for any non-sentimental attachment to a car that you have and the repair bills that you might be facing? I think so. I think you can either switch into a more economical version of the same car that you have, or you can reward yourself with an upgrade. In any case, the math makes sense. Go out and do it. That is my endorsement for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Make sure you're subscribed. Until the next time I see you, stay driven.